And hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pumpkin Coptercast, the only video game show. So it is the end of the year, pretty much, and I'm joined once again by the man who is a frequent co-host of both shows, a man who has recorded so many podcasts, you'd think he is the long-lost fourth McElroy brother. We have Chris the Chippa Chipman, also known as the man who has been there the whole time.
Yes, I have. In fact, every recording you have ever done, I've been there the whole time. It's like some weird butterfly effect thing. I'm everywhere. Thank you again for having me on. It's been a couple of years, and
Yeah,
woohoo.
it certainly has been only only like I'm not sure if it's only been 2 years or it's already been 2 years since we're in like the early stages of a Fallout game.
Yeah, it's really strange. I feel like you can talk about 6 months in, it was like, all right, you know, it felt close enough where it was like, that time where things were normal, quote unquote. And now,
Yeah.
like, I think back to PAX 2020,
hmm
which is now just about 2 years ago.
I
Oh God, no,
remember.
2019.
Oh
No,
yeah.
PAX 2020 didn't happen. 2019, so you have very much 2 years ago, and it's like the before time, the long, long ago, when the
Oh
grass was
yeah.
green and we still had oil. It's like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, so, it's the end of the year, and as is tradition for most video game related outfits, Chris and I are going to be talking about our games of the year of this year. And yeah, before we start on that, Chris, last time, I think it was, hey, hold on, was it? Trying to figure out,
I feel like I've been on more recently than the end of
yeah.
last year, but because I
I
think I
don't,
was on with Carolyn, but maybe that was the end of last year. That shows how
I
this works out.
It was 4 months ago,
Oh, that's not so
and
bad. Okay.
yep, and it's okay. It's like, yeah, yeah. Where last time, like you, me, and our good friend and a- real life actual Mobius variant, Carolyn, uh, we talked about like the games of the year of past years, and just things that have been helping us get through this actual like hell for a lot of us.
Yes.
And so it's been a few months since then, and I was wondering, Chris, before we get into our games of the year that were actually released this year, have you acquired any more games of the year that were made in past years?
Um. Oh, interesting. Uh, Let me think. Did I talk about Man, I'm gonna forget the name of this. Um. Oh boy, brain is shutting down. Um, Game very popular. Um, like fighting, not fighting, like dungeon crawly fight. Oh, what the hell was the name of this? I was playing it at like mid year, and I don't think I mentioned it last time. What the hell was it called? I own it. It's here on Steam. I can just look at it on the damn computer. I'm sorry. This is how these things happen.
Yeah.
Um, but it like had like kind of like a Roman, like Greek, almost like a God of War kind of thing going on, but it was like a Baldur's Gate, like 2/3 view. Oh, what the hell was that game called? It's on the Switch. It's on everything. Um, and I can't get my damn Steam to open, or else I would see it. But that was, I think it was a 2020 game, and it's one of those. It's difficult, but it's short, so you like people do like um, quick runs on it,
hmm
and talk about like this is the eighth time I've beaten this, kind of thing. And if it ever pops up, I'll tell you what it is because it's lost to me what the name of this damn game was. It was great. I can say that. And I like it so much, I'm going to get it on the Switch. Because I think having it to go would be really nice.
Mhm.
Hades.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Hades. Yes, that was that may have come out in 2021, but I think it was 2020.
Yeah, it was.
And but no, that's the more recent one that I've acquired. Everything else was a layover of what we talked about the last time as far as prior years. Although, did I finally get to play a game through the Super Nintendo? There was a game that was completely missing in my playthrough. It might have been because it wasn't available in the US. No, it was an NES game. It was a game where you play as a fireman.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out on the it was one of those ones like the View from Nintendo Power. I remember from when I was a kid. It's like I always wanted to play that game and never played it. And it's like a bomb setting or bomb defusing fireman odd little game. And it came on the virtual console thing they do there. And I'm gonna find out the name of this. And it's I won't say it's a good game, but it's an intriguing game. And if I can find it, I'm sorry for not being prepared. Um, but it wasn't called Firefighter. It had like a weird top down. You'd think not Firehouse, not Flying Hero, not Blazing Rangers. NES Firefighter game Switch. Was it Real Heroes Firefighter?
Hmm.
No. I'm trying to find a list of NES games on the. No, it's not Real Heroes because that's a newer one. But anyway, if anybody remembers what this thing is called, I feel like an idiot. I remember seeing the what do they call that? That's the NES Virtual. Is it Virtual Console Switch? Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
NES Virtual Console Switch Firefighter. It's probably called like Firefighter or something. The Ignition Factor. Do you remember this game?
Let's say the ignition factor. I don't think I'm looking at it right now. I don't think I ever played it myself.
It's one of those games that like either got a cover of Nintendo Power or it had like, oh, it's a Super Nintendo game. Okay, because I was searching wrong. That's why. But it's cool. It's like a firefighting real-time strategy game.
Huh.
It's very, very odd. And I mean, just look at the cover art from the box. It's just got a very intriguing, like photoshopped firefighters. Like, why is there a lightning bolt on it? Like, we really don't know what's going on. But the game itself was just this really odd, I wouldn't call it shovelware, but just like who was the person that asked for this game? That's what I loved about 80s and 90s games. It's just like, yeah, no, it's a game you play as a firefighter. Well, that's not interesting. Oh, well, there's like ninjas and stuff. Oh, all right. It's just an interesting game. And I was having a lot of fun trying to figure out how the hell to play it because it has one of those, it just drives you right in without really telling you. So it's like, oh, you either get like bootloaded as a firefighter or bootloaded as like a guy on the you spawn in different areas, right? So you're the guy like on search and rescue, and you're the guy on the breaking down the door, and then you're the guy on the ladder for the roof, and it's just very odd, and I enjoy it.
Okay, and yeah, I've acquired a few since then, since I realized the only way I'm actually going to play the vast majority of the games I know is if, I'm holding it in my hands right now. I've made like a physical list of games to play, and like since I've made it, I've only played the games on that list.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, and since then, well, I have two lists right now because I completed the first one. I've recent taken off, let's see, 11 games off of these combined two lists, and of the games that are definitely of my games. Actually, before I start like rattling off this list like a nerd, Chris, did you get one of those like automated emails from Nintendo that says like here's your Nintendo Switch playing like history throughout the year?
I probably did, but I haven't looked at it. Let me look at that.
So yeah, they like do this. I guess they've done this like every year since like the Switch came out. They send
Huh.
you an email and it shows like this is how many hours you've played on the Switch during the year. This is like the game you hooked the most hours into, and I find, surprising no one who knows me at this point. Like the game I sunk the most hours in was, the Switch port of Dragon Quest 3,
Oh yeah.
clocking in at like 44 hours, and I'm kind of excited like they're making the remaster of Dragon Quest 3 for the Switch that's coming out soon. And
Awesome.
I'm hoping like maybe this is hoping beyond hope, but I'm hoping like, maybe this will result in them porting like the other Dragon Quest games that are are like nigh impossible to get legally.
It's necessary at this point, right? I think people want them.
Yeah, we got Dragon Quest 1 through 3 and 11, and the game that I actually tied with that to sink in with the most hours, which is actually one of the games on my list, which is Dragon Quest Builders, which like if this were like back in the day when you and Bob did like those story segments for Game Overthinker, I think this would be a thing because, it's literally like I've said this before, but it's just something to think about since, the what if is like for the first time ever like an actual thing to talk about thanks to, Disney Plus and Marvel. It's, what if, the hero from the Dragon Quest 1 said yes to the Dragon Lord? And
Oh,
and in having actually played through the first three games, like I understand the context now. And it's just it's like a platform, it's like, base building, but like base building with Dragon Quest, which I assume is what most people need. And it's really cool, especially if you enjoy like building things and like hoarding resources like I do. Let's see. And another one of my games of the year that are not of this year was, a game I had to clear a whole bunch of space on my 3DS because, I guess they just they didn't believe in like physical copies, was Phoenix Wright Spirit of Justice. And the Phoenix Wright games, like Chris, met your I've met you like your two youngins like twice for a combined total of like I think less than 3 minutes. So I'm not sure if this
yep.
is would be like a thing or not, but I think like the Phoenix Wright games, because it's a combination of like visual novel slash adventure game, it would be like the kind of thing that a group of people could sit down with and figure it out together and just like I think y'all would like it just because every single like it's animated, it's like but they're like real people trying and failing not to act like a cartoon
Right.
basically. And yeah, it's awesome. Like this game and like the previous game is around the time when like certain like DS franchises were taking advantage of like the 3DS goodies.
Which were fun.
Like instead of like pixely visuals, it's like all 3D images, which means like when you see them do their animations, you actually like see them like the model like move from one animation to the other instead of just like I don't know cutting to it, which is some what they did with like the Professor Layton games. And yeah, it would take way too long to explain since each Phoenix Wright game is like a year in the life of these idiots. these these legal genius idiots, and so I won't get into that. But like a game of the year that is not of this year that I've actually like literally 4 days ago just wrapped up was like in the summertime I decided to like try and get out of my gaming comfort zone, so I picked a game that was like as far out of my comfort zone as possible, which was of course them dang zombie rednecks the game, or for the common folk, Resident Evil 7.
Them damn zombie rednecks the game.
And I was just like, I don't like. I knew it was gonna be scary because, like, I've seen like all the press it got when it initially released, but I still wasn't like entirely ready. Like,
Yeah,
holy
I've heard
crap!
it's awesome. Is that on PS4?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna have to get that. I love me some Resident Evil. I haven't played any since the fourth one.
like, yeah, which is also on the PS4.
That game's incredible. That's still the pinnacle for me.
Yeah, it was just, this is like all the like Resident Evils of yore. It's just a combination of just like soul crushing despair and also just like, the sort of horror that Bob would make a Schlocktober episode about.
Yep.
And so recently and having beat it and the DLCs a few days ago, I realized that I can have a taste for that now. So like thanks to some holiday money, I recently acquired, PS4 copies of Resident Evil remakes 2 and 3 and Resident Evil 4, and probably by this time tomorrow I'll have, The Adventures of Vampire Mom the game, also known as Resident Evil 8, because we all know why we're playing why everyone's playing that game, and if you lie about and if you try and say you're trying to be scared by it, you're a liar.
Big vampire lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
so yeah, I probably yeah, so I probably won't get a chance to play it until I clear the rest of the games on my list, because if I like abandon the list now, just it'll just drive me up a wall. But anyway, now we got that out of the way. We can talk about games of the year that actually came out this year.
Right. You want me to go first or you?
Uh, sure, you can go first.
Okay. So my just like with our last recording, my list is a weird one. Again, I don't think this fell into the games I've played that came out last year category, but one of my top games of the year this year was actually watching my daughter learn how to enjoy a Nintendo Switch. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason I say that is because a lot of the things she's played are games from prior years, but I love watching her through this lens. And we talked about this, but I don't 4 months ago was what, August?
Yeah.
Just about September, so it was before her birthday. So she got a Switch,
Mm-hmm.
and I've watched her play um, Super Mario Maker 2, which is a game
Mm-hmm.
from the prior year that I had not got a chance to play. I loved Super Mario Maker. I haven't got to touch 2 yet because I've just been watching her.
Yeah.
Um, I've been watching her damn near beat the entirety of Bowser's Fury on her own. She's 6.
Oh,
Like,
jeez.
that blows my mind. She just gets it. And she watches Let's Players play it and then goes and tries to figure out the things they do. She's managed to get a third of the stars in Super Mario 64 on her own at 6. This breaks my brain. That's not an easy game.
It
You know what I mean?
it really isn't.
She has a lot more trouble with Mario Sunshine, but I help her through that. She's good like in each area. She's good with maybe like half the stars or half the shines, and then needs some help with bosses and stuff. That's her big. But she usually gets most of the platforming and everything. It breaks my brain. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing that was really incredible was for Christmas she got Origami King, which was, I think, your prior favorite of the year.
Yes.
Yeah, and that game is just an absolute delight. You were 100% right, and I love watching her play it. And then she also got everybody's favorite 2020 pastime, um, Animal Crossing. And so I've gotten to see her enjoy the hell out of that. We got her Mario Kart 8, which I already had on the Wii U, but it was great to see her pick that up. And she had broken, because she played with it a little too hard, the Mario Kart home circuit from last year that I had. So my brother got us got us the Mario and Luigi for Christmas, and her and I have been setting up courses and racing with that. So even though all of those things are from a previous year, that's my runner-up category for game of the year, was just watching my daughter get deeper and deeper into games. She just loves them. But my game of the year, and something that I just needed. I needed a game that sucked me in. You know, I talked the last time, I was playing a lot of Tetris 99, all that, but I got for Christmas Metroid Dread. Have you played Metroid Dread?
I have not.
It is absolute perfection. It's the perfect mix of nowadays visuals with old-fashioned Metroidvania approach to gameplay. It's great to see a Metroid game that's all about platforming. I know that, I mean, they all always have been, but this one is just, it's so hardcore platformer. Like everything about it, the areas, it's unrelenting. But the best thing they added to it was they added these things called the Emmys, the E.M.M.Is. They're these like sentry bots that got sent to this planet before you, that for some reason now are evil. And when you get into the areas they're in, there's no escape. Like you can't fight, you just have to run. And so they stick you in these obnoxious Metroid, like you don't know what direction to go or what area to go in, and you have to go over again and again and again, but they make you have to run through them too. And it's awesome. It's got a Silent Hill survival horror feel that I've never really felt in a Metroid game before. And it took the thing over the goal line for me. I think it's like a 7 or an 8 hour long game, and I'm probably like 5 into it, and I got it on Christmas, and that was a week ago. And from what everybody listening hearing about how much time I actually have to play, that's huge for me. To get that far in. And it's all consuming, and it's wonderful. And Nintendo really hit it out of the park, in my opinion, on that one.
Yeah. Sounds like a good one.
Yeah.
So I think I have roughly 3 games of the year of this year, and they're so different. Like, just I feel like the fact that they're all drastically different from each other kind of just accurately reflects like my mood just through this whole like dark period of this generation of history. But anyway, my first game of the year came out. I think I'm pretty sure at the very beginning of this year. As hard as it is to believe that there are beginnings and ends now.
No, there isn't. You lied.
Yeah. So yeah, my first game of the year is the latest installment in like what I call the giant-headed children experience trauma collection of games. We got Little Nightmares 2.
Ooh.
So yeah, basically the studio that made the Little Nightmares games took like what like Playdead Studios made with Limbo and Inside, and just kind of in my opinion, like perfected it. Just because it's unlike those 2 games. Like the Little Nightmare games are like 3D like physics platformers. So like in Little Nightmares 1, you're trapped in like a spooky ship trying to escape, and just yeah. Whereas like Limbo and Inside basically use like dead silence, except when, something real big was happening. It actually does use like spooky music, like most of like when you're just regular platforming, just regular no like regular just the ambient noise of wherever you are. But when like one of like the giant people that looks like most of the people you remember in Spirited Away when Chihiro's parents were like eating the food and slowly turning into pigs, but they hadn't
Yep.
quite turned into pigs yet, so they just look like blobby people. Like
Oh
most
yeah.
of the people are that. And if they get close but they don't see you, you can actually like hear the character's heartbeat. And then, when they see you, they make some sort of horrible screeching sound and it just plays. It's like, I don't watch as many scary movies as you, but music appropriate to when a scary thing in a horror movie, finds you and is trying its very best to eat you. And Little Nightmares 2 just takes that and just expands on it. Whereas Little Nightmares 1 you play as, the mysterious raincoat girl 6, you play as, this bag on your head boy Mono who's just trying to make his way and just ends up teaming up with 6 and they're just I they're just trying to navigate it, but because of this is Little Nightmares world, everyone like I don't really know how to describe the visuals just because I'm like I've watched a lot of movies, but unlike like you and Bob, I don't have like movie person vocabulary when it comes to talking about things. But
What's the full name of the game again? Little Monsters 3? No.
Little Nightmares 2,
Little Nightmares 2. I'm gonna see if I can.
like a lot of it's like the best I can describe it is like
Oh, damn! It kind of looks like 9.
yeah,
It has like a post-apocalyptic Tim Burton kind of look to it.
yeah, and like some of the quote unquote people that you run into, it's kind of like that stop motion Coraline movie
Yep.
when like at the very end when the other mother turns into that horrible spider lady
Love it.
and her face breaks apart. Like
One
think
of the
of think
scariest films ever made, in my opinion. That movie's unnerving as fuck.
yeah, think of that, but whereas they use they made the other mother look like her body was made out of like plaster or something as like a
This
metaphor
game
for the
looks
fake world.
amazing.
Oh yeah, I think they're like the first one is also like on sale a lot for like dirt cheap. Yeah. But in Little Nightmares world, like since all these people are quote unquote people, when like instead of like the porcelain frame, the porcelain look of the other mother, it's like imagine like them stretching out to monsters like she did, only they're made out of like skin that has clearly been stretched out a lot, and so
It's
it's like
horrifying.
yeah, and like Limbo and Inside, unless you're running away from something, it's just like dead silence except for like the ambient noise.
Oh, this is way up my alley.
And unlike Limbo and Inside, there's you get like well like those games, there's like no spoken words or text, and so you're using like environmental context clues to pick up what happened, but they give you just enough context to know that something horrible happened, but you're not entirely sure what. And like both of those games are just like absolutely haunting. And you know and the people who make these games know what they're doing, because recently, like on my very first list of games, there's like the prequel to Little Nightmares 1 and 2, which is Very Little Nightmares, which is like entirely like on phones and smart devices, and having played through that game, like I mean you use touch controls to navigate obviously, but it's like still has that same like the like dead quiet unless something's trying to eat you stuff that Little Nightmares has, and it's just like this. It's it's basically what I started with when I wanted to dip my toe into in like terms of like scary games. So that's my first game of the year.
Awesome. It's on my list now. I can't wait to play it.
Yep. And let's see. And so if I just to like drastically change moods, my second game of the year is like I'm not sure where I read this, but I think it was in like I think it might have been, before society collapsed when, people from like major game outlets and like game award things and such were talking about how, just how there's an increased demand, and because, gaming technology is so good, like increased possibility for, like full scale experiences that aren't, primarily driven by violence. And like one of my games of the year and one of my sort of games of the year are basically about that. And one of my sort of game of the year is, a game I didn't think I'd become as invested in as I did, which is Mario Golf Super Rush for the Switch.
I've heard it's incredible.
Oh yeah. So it's just like the Mario, like certain Mario games are like Power Rangers in the sense that, like there is world building, but because it's not they're not like franchises originally made for world building, the world building they do have is like really friggin' weird. So in Mario Golf Super Rush, there's a local golfing tournament, and your original character made from a me is entering it, and this is just, I don't know, I guess if Captain Lou Albano and Danny Wells were like, here today, like this is probably something they'd make an episode of the Super Show around, because there's a golf tournament, so you stay at like the cabins they have, and your roommates are Toadette, a Boo, and a Charge and Chuck, the football one. And the thing is, like the Mario sports games, they have just the Mario things that look like things in Mario games, and just regular things. So like the cabin looks like a regular cabin, but you're like spending time with your roommates who are Mario characters. And the person just running the house, running the cabin like during the tournament is Birdo, and she's just like, "Hi everyone, you can call me Birdo. I'll be, taking care of things in the cabin while you're participating in the golf tournament." And like it's just just you're playing with and against Mario characters in golf, and then because it's a Mario sports game, it actually has like in the campaign mode there actually is a bit of an overarching story where like eventually shenanigans happen because like the Mario universe is just a hotbed for like ancient evil. And there's actually boss fights in this game.
What?
Boss fights that you fight them using like the golf mechanics of this golf game that is about golf. And it's just, and it looks yeah, it's just like I had to include it just because it was so different than most of the games I've played this year. It's just amazing, especially like at the very end of the game. Yeah, just yeah. And but like my actual second game of the year is a game that, I don't think any of us ever dreamt we would ever see, which was new Pokemon Snap for the Switch.
Yeah.
Like, I was excited for it, and yeah, and for like Chris, once again, I know like the bare minute, but if like either of your kids are like the type of kids who like, animals and also, things with
Oh yeah.
superpowers, which is what Pokemon are.
We got to pick it up. They both know what Pokemon are and love them.
Hmm.
So I have a feeling a game where you just get to drive around and take pictures of them is gonna be a big hit.
Yep. And because there's been, several generations between the first one and now, there's like so Pokemon from like all of the games, which is great. And, something I liked is like, like you're a photographer helping like do research for like the local Pokemon professor, and you're trying to understand like he's studying this like local phenomena that causes Pokemon to glow, which most Pokemon don't usually do unless something's going down. And the best, and you're traveling through like all the different islands of this new region, the Lentil region, because everything's a reference to something. In this case, food, and like you're just traveling around trying to piece together, like the history behind this region, trying to figure out what are these like weird plants that cause things to light up. And unlike a conventional Pokemon game, you're not doing it because there's like some sort of danger, or like Team Rocket or Galactico doing it. Like you're literally just doing researching like a thing that has happened in this region's past, because that's what researchers do. And it's like something people have talked about wanting for years, is this like day in the life stuff in like a Pokemon game. Like you're literally just helping a guy like research and do his job better, but it's okay because it's Pokemon. And yeah, just like, and like the game is beautiful. Like as you like unlock more islands, you can go back and like like in the past games, in like the previous game, you can just like, I don't know, you can like throw apples and food at the Pokemon, and you can take unique pictures seeing like them eat, or you can like find hidden pictures, or like play the flute to make certain Pokemon wake up. Basically, it's just like cute animals doing cute things. The game, and it's just again, it's like it's not even slightly violent, but like Pokemon put like a whole like Pokemon and Nintendo put like a whole bunch of like marketing and everything like behind this, and that was like one of their major releases of that month. And it's all about just just calmly traveling and taking pictures of Pokemon, and it's friggin' amazing. Yeah, so, and just yeah, like I friggin' loves playing through it, and I have a feeling this is gonna be like, if your kids were like how I was during the original game, they're probably just gonna spend hours and hours on one level just because they want to look at every single thing they can.
Yeah, it looks like a really, really fun game to just relax and slide through.
Yeah, and like one of my runners up, which since it's like pretty much a shot for shot remake, I didn't technically count it since it's just an old game again. But a game I just knew I needed to play through, which was Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, which is, along with Shining Pearl, is like a remake of like the fourth generation of the games, which people have been, which Pokemon. If you follow Pokemon circles, like people have been demanding this for ages. So it's just like the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl again, but with the more adorable. Like, if you look at the trailer for like all of the people are just like chibified, so everyone looks
Yep.
like a little figurine, except unless you're like in a battle, in which case they go like to full scale, and that's adorable. And something they brought back that everyone's happy about is that like you can get like the Pokemon that's like in the first slot in your party. It can actually like follow you around. And something I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts like when your kids get to it, they'll love. Like the more you interact with the Pokemon, like you can interact the Pokemon and it says like, oh, they're reacting to this. Like the more you do that, like when you're fighting, it gains like stat bonuses. Like this happened to me a lot. Like one of my Pokemon like get like burnt or paralyzed or poisoned, and then like the text says this Pokemon like purged itself of the poison so it wouldn't let you down.
Oh.
And it's just, or like this Pokemon took what would normally be a one hit KO and like survived because it wanted to keep fighting for you. Like I'm I'm willing to bet like your kids and just like kids in general will like get way into that because I know I would if I was like a young kid at the time of like this game's release. So yeah, but if you do get this game for one or both of your kids down the road, I would highly suggest you find, your brother Bob's like game overthinker episode of about the zen of grinding,
I
because
love that
especially
one.
at the very end of it, well, I watched that video a lot while playing through the three Dragon Quests because I kind of needed to put things in perspective. But that game can kick your butt if you're not careful. So that's one of my honorary mentions. And yeah, my last game of the year of this year is a game I'm still like I have to assume I'm getting close to wrapping up, but who knows, is a game I was excited about, and again, one of the games we never thought we'd ever see is Psychonauts 2.
Yes.
So
Can't
I was
wait.
excited about it, like friend of the show and friend for life, Ben the Destroyer introduced that game to me like long ago, back when like the Xbox Live arcade was king, and like the first game, and I loved that. And then Psychonauts 2 came out, and I find that since I have a computer that can actually play games without literally almost melting, found myself actually able to play it, and I was just, oh, it was just like from like minute one, it was amazing because they double Tim Schafer and Double Fine, they kept everything like everyone looks exactly as they did in the first game, but because there's been like 16 years, they've just made it look gorgeous.
I love that. I love it when developers do that.
Yeah, and like all the original voice cast, like Richard Horvitz voicing Raz as he did, and just I think this year I realized that he voiced Alpha from Power Rangers way back in the
Oh,
day.
awesome.
So, just I feel that's like just I'm still reeling from that. But yeah, it's just amazing, and like the first game, like the main shtick of the game is that the main parts of the main platforming is going into physical representations of like people's states of mind, and that it's like wacky adventure, and then you realize that, oh, and then you realize that most of the people Raz meets in like the first and second game like have really, really deep, most of the time unresolved like mental issues, and then you see like a physical representation of that while you're platforming, and then you're like, oh, oh dear. They, yeah, like it just, it's just, man, I just forgot like a lot of the main adult characters have had something like horrible happen to them because,
Yep.
life, and then you see it, and then you're just like, oh, and then you realize that, Raz is a 10-year-old boy, and, a 10-year-old boy with psychic powers, and a lot of people aren't fond of psychic powers because, when it comes to superpowers, like all the adults are like every adult in X-Men. Like, yeah, and it's just really nice. Like the platforming is like Psychonauts. The first Psychonauts was amazing, but because it was 2005 times, the platforming was often imprecise. And anyone who's played the last level of the first game, the Meat Circus, knows just how bad platforming was back in the day. To the point where even after many years of playing games and then playing Psychonauts again to get myself hyped for this, like that last level just made me angry. And yeah, and it's just like full of those moments like when you're playing through the games, like, and then you see like, oh, this is one of the reasons why this person has like emotional issues, and then you're just like, oh, wait a minute. That's something lots of people in real life are dealing with literally right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just to spoil, I don't want to give too much away, but just like little snippets to give you a taste, because this is a game I hope you play when you have the time. Like, there's this one part at a point in the game where you realize like, oh, this character's mom like was an alcoholic due to like a tragic event, and she like drank herself to death.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, and then you're like, oh, this person is so concerned for their job about their job that it's causing them to be a nervous wreck. Or, oh, this person has a tragedy so bad that it literally broke their brain. And just I'm still playing, like, I just finished playing through a chunk of it like before we started recording this, and it's like, damn, like, I mean, it is a sad game, but like the game doesn't come to a screeching halt. It's more like you're like running through a platforming section, and then you see like this is like the mental issue this person has, and it just causes you to like be like, oh, and then you like that's in the back of your mind as you're playing through the platforming challenges, like, oh dear.
Oof.
And yeah, like just like it's amazing. Double Fine knocked it out of the freaking park, and I don't know. I feel like I should bring this up because when like the months leading up to its release, this was a thing. Like Psychonauts has, quite a few accessibility options, including one option that makes you literally invincible. And and some people, i.e., losers, like, made a stink about this because, anytime this is brought up, the worst people make a big deal of it.
Oh yeah.
Just, ugh. Yeah. And like some people talk about, since Psychonauts is for kids, and like I'm sure kids can play it, but this is a game about you literally like going into a person's brain and helping them solve like any sort of like emotional difficulties they've had. So, it's not entirely kid oriented,
Right.
but yeah, they got like sticks up their butts about how something like this might be okay because it's quote for kids, but like a serious game like Returnal,
Ugh.
like it wouldn't be okay, even though as James Stephanie Sterling pointed out explicitly, like accessibility options don't matter to people who don't use them because they're optional and therefore you don't have to do them. But anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Psychonauts 2 is just like the gameplay is just like superb, and they like add so many awesome stuff to it. But it's my game of the year because when I played the first one, I just fell so in love with like all of these characters, and like in Psychonauts 2 it fleshes out like the Psychonauts, the organization, and like the world a bit, and like how having psychic powers would like influence things in a person's life, and just like being able to interact with the characters again. That's what solidified this for me as one of my games of the year.
I love it, and especially after so long too, right?
Yeah, like, it took a long time, but it was worth the wait.
I love doing these with you because it just makes me make a reminder of all the games I haven't played that I wanted to.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be buying that one right when we get off the phone.
and yeah, those are my games of the year. And before we start wrapping them up, Chris, are there any games that are on the horizon that you're looking forward to getting your mitts on?
Oh man. Um, I can't even think right now of. I'm so out of touch. Like I don't have a PS5.
Mhm.
I don't have the next Xbox, whatever that thing's
Most of the
called
world
now.
doesn't have a PS5.
Yeah, right. But isn't there isn't another Zelda being isn't there another 3D Metroid game? Like a first person Metroid Prime coming out?
Yeah, Metro. Then we know Metroid Prime 4 like
Yeah,
is being developed. We just don't know anything about it because society has collapsed at our feet, and
exactly.
most
This
people
is
are like sinking their teeth into Metroid Dread because
it's incredible.
yeah, uh, yeah, a game I am looking forward to. It's
I'm
coming.
refreshing my brain while you talk.
Yeah,
Eh,
that I'm just looking forward to. Just not only as a person who loves like the Pokemon games, but as someone who is like slowly covering the entirety of the Pokemon anime canon, like is Pokemon Legends Arceus for
Yup.
Nintendo Switch, which is the open world game. And something like something I'd noticed and something I'm gonna point out like as the release draws closer is like in like 2017 we got Breath of the Wild. That was friggin' phenomenal,
Yeah.
obviously. And then a few years later we got a remake of Link's Awakening, which again is also friggin' amazing
Oh,
for much different
so
reasons.
good.
And
That's one of my favorite Zelda games.
yep. And this year we got Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, a remake of a beloved, and Pearl, remakes of like a particularly beloved generation. And next year we're getting I guess an open world Pokemon game, or open world ish. Who knows? That still we're no one's still 100% right at this point. Pokemon game that I guess involves Arceus, who I need to remind you is a basically a like, well, just to put this into terms that, you'll instantly be able to explain to Bob if you talk to Pokemon about him. Like, imagine like the next Godzilla movie happened, and then imagine like a a kaiju, a vaguely horse-looking kaiju shows up, and then and then like the scientists figure out that that is literally, not figuratively, the capital G, Abrahamic, from the Bible, God. Like,
Yep.
Chris, like, this isn't for like years. This isn't happening to like years, but eventually, like, I need to get you on the show because, like, one of the Pokemon movies, Arceus and the Jewel of Life, is about Arceus, who again is literally God, capital G, like literal, like going back in time. And again, I'm using literally as possible. Like, destroys creation itself in a fit of rage, like Old Testament style. And so I can only like, again, I want to know what role Arceus is going to play because, again, Pokemon is, just like Pokemon, like Power Rangers, has the most friggin' bonkers
Yep.
lore ever. And yeah, that's what I'm excited. And I bring up that and the two Zelda games because I I know it won't, but I'm hoping that, Breath of the Wild and Link's Awakening remake and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and Pokemon Legends Arceus like will get people to, stop like condemning, like talking about, how, like talking about, the sole virtues of like the open world style game versus like the linear game, because we've known from like two of Nintendo's like most powerful franchises that there is like a fierce demand for both.
Right.
Like,
And I love that we're getting both. That they don't just like it blew my mind how much I loved Breath of the Wild
mhm,
because I'm usually not an open world game kind of guy. And that one just took me because I wanted to exist in that world. I think
mhm,
that's the thing open world games forget sometimes. And again, this isn't to crap on people that like, for example, like one of the first ones I ever touched, and I think a lot of people touched, was like Grand Theft Auto. And it's like
mhm,
the more realistic those got, the less fun they were. The more silly they got when you ended up with games like Saints Row. It's like this is when it's fun. I want to disappear into this world. You know what I mean? And that's what I loved about Breath of the Wild is it was an open world non-linear game with a very linear story.
mhm,
And I think that's really important is your story needs to be engrossing. You want like what I wouldn't give for a Breath of the Wild reskinned playthrough of the Dark Crystal. You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
just like I want to like just take a bath in all of that. You know, so I can't wait. I can't wait. If we got more Zelda ever, that's what I want.
Yeah, so let's see, Pokemon Legends Arceus. That's definitely like one of my favorite. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see if we can actually remember. I think I remember like one or.
If that new Sonic game comes out and it doesn't end up being complete garbage like a lot of them are, that could be interesting.
Yeah, let's see. Some of the games coming out. Like, I don't know. Like, allegedly, like, because who knows about the certainty of time anymore? But it says Breath of the Wild 2 has like the very vague 2022
Yep.
release date. So who knows?
So does
Uh,
Splatoon 3, which would be wonderful. Those are great games.
Yeah, and a game I was looking forward to, but now I'm like unsure of how to feel is like they're making a sequel Mario plus Rabbids, but like it's my excitement has been like severely dampened like after we've learned like just the sheer extent of everything that Ubisoft has done.
Yeah, it sucks. And it's a shame when I finally played that original game, it was a lot better than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
And it's a
So
bummer. Ubisoft just sucks.
let's see. I mean, on the plus, like silver lining, they're making a game I'm surprised I'm excited about. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge,
Yeah, I just saw that that's coming and I
and
I
you can
forgot about it.
play as April. And let's see. Another thing, I'm looking at it literally right now. We got Metal Slug Tactics
Saw that.
because I remember back when my brother like had the Neo Geo Pocket, I played through like the original like well whatever Metal Slug was on there at the time, like
There's
so
so
many
many Metal Slug
times.
games.
Like yeah, and like tactics games are cool, and like I'm not sure when this is coming out, but like the people who made The Messenger are making a sort of like an RPG that's that's kind of sort of a prequel to The Messenger, but and it looks friggin' gorgeous because it looks like souped up like fancy version. It looks like really pretty version of the 16-bit mode of the Messenger, and like that game was friggin' rad. And let's see, it came out in 2018. Oh, it's only been 3 years. Oh gosh, oh no.
Yeah, just don't even think about it. If you think about it, you'll implode.
It's yeah, Sea of Stars. It's like that game is called, coming out in 2022, and that's exciting. And there's a bunch of games. First, I just got it. I gotta like look this up now, just otherwise it's gonna haunt my dreams. Let's see, like Nintendo, like, because and some I love is just like watching like when Nintendo does an indie showcase, just because they present it so well. Let's see, their indie world. Let's see. Let's see. There's um. Oh gosh, I gotta find the actual list. There we go. We got Sea of Stars, like a bunch of games that like let's see, Dungeon Munchies, that you travel through an underworld dungeon and like collect things to help people cook. There's like a horrible soul crushing game about playing as a mother fox and her three kits, question mark, in a very environmentally ravaged world. Let's see. There's like a whole. Oh, dang. Nope. Either way. Let's see. Yeah. So that's exciting. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Again, like I can't remember. Like I remember all of the games. I just can't remember the names because that just falls out of my ears. But we got Locomotive, which is basically styled to be like an adventure game from yonder days, where you play
Hmm.
as three different people as a mystery on a train. Let's see. After Love, like a, a guest of the show, Fahmy, who was on previously talking about his game, like What Comes After, is making a new game called After Love, which is like visual novel slash rhythm game about like this guy trying to make it in a band in Jakarta, and he's trying to make it in a band and move and like try and like move on with life and trying to make peace with the death of his girlfriend. And that's exciting because like I played his previous game, What Comes After, which is basically a girl wakes up and she realizes she's an alive girl wakes up and she realizes she's like on a train to the afterlife. So, while she waits to be like dropped off back in the human world, she talks to people who are traveling to the afterlife. And even though it's literally just walking around and talking, it hits you like a brick. So, that's a game I'm looking forward to. So, yeah, I got a smorgasbord of stuff to look forward to in the new year. So at least video games will be good.
Yes, video games will always be there, I hope.
So yeah, those are my games of the year and the games I'm looking forward to. And yeah, and I guess that brings us to the end of this particular episode. So
Fantastic.
I would like to thank the Chippa for joining me again.
I love it, and it's always a pleasure, and thank you so much.
You're welcome. And yeah, I guess I'll start plugging things now. If you enjoyed this, please, like, rate, comment, subscribe, give it all the good ones. Like, just, to be fully transparent, I would like to, like, break double digits. I would like to move past double digit amount of subscribers sometime in the next ever. Yeah. And if for some reason you enjoyed listening to my ramblings and you thought I'd like to give that person some money, you can go to patreon.com/thepumpkincoptercast, and for as little as $1 a month, you could submit questions for me to use in future interviews. And yeah, which, Chris Chipman is done. Just, full transparency. I mean, not enough people actually watch the show to like raise an issue about it, but there you go. And yeah, and and if you enjoyed hearing me rambling and you want to hear me ramble about a consistent subject, you can you can like fire up Google and type in "gotta recap them all," a pod where God is a horse, so nothing is off limits. A podcast where I and my friend Tom and several guests, and whether he wants to or not, eventually good old Chris Chipman again, as to talk
Love
about
that show. Love being on that show.
Pokemon anime. And it's taken Tom and I slightly over 2 years, but we finally like gone past the original 80 episodes that make up the Indigo League, and that's including the banned ones, like the one that gave kids seizures, or the one with the guns.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Like just like if we like
That's also my favorite episode of Friends.
yeah.
Ba-doom-tsh.
Like someday, however many years from now it will be, when we can go to conventions like 100% without fear. Like the episode with the guns is going to be like the focus of this hypothetical live panel, because
Oh, great.
the idea, like again, I'm just like, there are guns. Like, I can't stress it. Like Ash Ketchum, a 10 years old boy who has like died for our sins at least once, like has like a gun, a real life gun, pointed in his face several times, and many people are threatened with guns. Again, in Pokemon, it's like, I don't know, which is weird because it would be like you're watching the MCU, and then all of a sudden the Hulk pulls out a gun, which you're like, why would he need one? And
How bored.
and like, yep. And let's see. And at the time of this recording, Tom and I have finished, the Crystal Onyx, which is literally about what the title would imply. With and In the Pink, which is about a surprisingly compelling episode where pink Pokemon happen because of a unique type of food that goes there, which is, I guess, sort of based on like an actual real medical condition where, similar to like how if you eat too many like carrots or tomatoes, your skin pigment changes because of the excess of certain food chemicals in your blood. And again, I'm over explaining it just because there's really not much to say. There's really not a whole lot to say about it other than, it's just like, mwah. It's just fantastic. So, yeah, you can go to search on your podcast platform of choice for Gotta Recap 'em All. And, since we're on the Orange Island arc, that means we will soon be getting to Pokemon the movie 2000. The movie that, since we know that God exists and is a horse in Pokemon universe, I guess this like the movie that proves that Ash Ketchum is literally God's chosen child, which again, it's one of those things that when you're an adult and you think about it, there's like it's like that one meme where all those complex mathematical equations appear over that lady's face, and you're just trying to figure out how that works. So, yeah. So, Chris, is there anything you would like to plug before we sign off tonight?
I would like to say that if you're listening to this because I shared it and you're hearing the Pumpkin Copter cast for the first time, please subscribe to and think about becoming a patron of Tyler. He works hard. He is a unique voice on the internet, especially in games critique. He's an awesome person, or they're an awesome person, should I say, to meet in person.
Either or.
So if you're ever at a con, um, be looking out for Big Debbie with the Infinity Gauntlet and the Little Debbie outfit, or one of Big Debbie's many family members, because we never know which one's going to show up. And check out Gotta Recap 'em All as well, because that is quite an undertaking to
Mm-hmm.
make be one's commitment to a podcast, and it's been awesome to be part of, because like I said when I was on it, I've always been aware of Pokemon, but I just missed the cutoff where that was like in my radar of obsession. But I had cousins who were way into it. And so I knew all of the Pokemon because I saw them drawing them all the time and playing the games. So it's great to like have a reason to go back and watch that show because I missed it. You know what I mean? And the show is just weird as F. And I love it. And so, getting involved in that has just been a blast. Me, if you know me, just search the Chippa Made This. As Tyler said, I make a lot of stuff. I love doing it. It's been slow at the end of this year. Um, my career has gotten more difficult, but awesome. And I have two kids, so that makes it a little bit harder to schedule recordings and stuff like this. But I'm there and I'm trying. And the way I look at it is, if we can't have positive things, we have to create positive things for each other, and that's what I'm here for.
Yep. And yeah, nothing more to be said. We say, thank you for joining us. And as I say at the end of every show, have a gourd day, everyone.
Great gourd job there.